All right, let's talk about something a little different today. We're going to dive into the surprisingly fascinating story of the smart toilet. And trust me, this isn't just a story about plumbing. Oh no, it's a story about culture, a national obsession with perfection, and some pretty incredible innovation.
So, yeah, how does that happen? How does a toilet, of all things, go from being just a toilet to a full-blown tech icon? It seems kind of crazy, right? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
So, to really get this story, we have to go back in time. The story of the smart toilet, which you might know as the Washlet, doesn't kick off in some high-tech lab. Nope, it actually starts in a really specific place and time, post-World War II Japan.
See, in the mid-20th century, Japan wasn't just rebuilding. There was this incredible national drive for perfection in every little aspect of daily life. And cleanliness? That wasn't just a chore, it was basically elevated to an art form. This created the perfect breeding ground, you could say, for a company like Toto to start thinking really differently about our most private spaces.
And this right here is the key difference. You know, in the West, people were pretty much satisfied with toilet paper. It did the job, right? But in Japan, the aspiration was totally different. Engineers at Toto started asking a much bigger, much bolder question. Can we get to a state of absolute cleanliness? A level of clean that paper just can't touch?
So, the idea for the Washlet wasn't pulled out of thin air. The initial spark actually came from a medical device used for patients. But Toto's vision, it was way, way bigger. They weren't just trying to make a medical tool for the masses. They wanted to create a universal amenity, a daily ritual of purification and even relaxation for everybody. Okay, so having a great idea is one thing, but actually building it, that's a whole different story. And for Toto's engineers in the 1980s, this was a massive, massive challenge. They were fighting a battle on two fronts, really, the technical side and, believe it or not, the psychological one.
Just think about the details for a second. The water pressure, it has to be strong enough to clean properly, but it also has to be gentle enough so it's, comfortable. The water temperature has to be just right, and it has to get there instantly. And the spray angle, that had to be absolutely perfect. We're talking about a whole lot of trial and error here, countless experiments to get these really delicate things right. And this is where the story gets really interesting. Their dedication wasn't just about engineering diagrams and data, it was superhuman. Get this, they literally invited their own employees to test the Washlet prototypes again and again. And they recorded everything, every little sensation of water warmth, every detail about sitting posture. They were obsessed with getting the user experience perfect.
But even if you build the perfect machine, you've got this other huge problem. How in the world do you convince people to trust an electronic device with their personal hygiene? I mean, really think about that. That psychological hurdle was just as big, if not bigger, than any of the engineering challenges.
So what was Toto's solution? Well, they decided they had to make the Washlet more than just a cleaning tool. They had to elevate it into an experience of pure comfort, something you couldn't imagine living without. And they pulled it off with a few genius breakthrough innovations. Okay, so step one obviously was the wash itself. That delivered on the core promise of perfect cleanliness. But the real game changers, the things that made people fall in love with it, first, the heated seat. I mean, can you imagine? Especially in a cold winter, that's just essential comfort. And then, to top it all off, a warm air dryer. Suddenly, the whole experience is luxurious and hands-free. These features together are what turned the toilet into, a powerful throne.
And one of the Toto marketers back then had the perfect line for it. He said, "Would you ever consider not taking a shower? The Washlet will become just as essential." I mean, wow, that was the goal, to make it so indispensable that going back to just plain old toilet paper would feel, as weird as skipping a shower.
And you know what? It worked. Which brings us to this next phase of the journey. How the Washlet went from this kind of strange domestic curiosity to a full-on cultural icon that's recognized all over the globe. Now, it wasn't an overnight success. Not at all. At first, when they ran ads for a self-washing toilet, people were skeptical. I mean, it sounded strange. But here's the thing. Once somebody actually tried it, the experience did all the talking. That feeling of comfort and absolute clean was way more powerful than any advertisement could ever be.
And from there, the rise was just incredible. It launched in the 1980s, and before you knew it, it was a total staple in Japanese homes and hotels. By the time we hit the 21st century, it was going global, popping up in Asia, Europe, and North America, and basically rewriting the rules for what a bathroom could be. Today, it's pretty much a cultural ambassador for Japan.
Seriously, one of the things you hear most from tourists is how they were just blown away by the toilets. For a lot of people, using a washlet for the first time feels like this futuristic welcome to Japan moment. It's just a perfect little symbol of the country's passion for innovating in everyday life.
So what's the big takeaway here? The modern impact is actually huge. First, it's completely set a new standard for health and personal hygiene. Second, it's a big win for sustainability because it cuts down massively on paper use. And finally, it's pretty much single-handedly responsible for transforming the bathroom from just a utility room into a high-tech space.
And it really all circles back to that one simple thing. That deep-seated desire for perfect cleanliness. The washlet is just amazing proof that game-changing innovation can pop up in the most unexpected places, and it can totally transform even the most private moments of our lives.
So that leaves me with one last question for you to chew on. If something as basic as a toilet could be so completely and utterly reinvented, what's next? What other everyday object is just sitting there, waiting for its own revolutionary moment? What technology is going to change our next private moments?